Singapore has just passed 50. But we're still a young nation with so much more that we can do together. That's why we've introduced SkillsFuture, so that we can all keep learning, pick up new skills, and discover new strengths in ourselves at every stage of life, so that everyone can achieve their full potential in life. It doesn't matter how young or old you are, or where you started from. SkillsFuture is for every one of us.
DPM, thank you very much for being with us today. Singapore has always faced economic challenges. How different is it this time round?
The first thing is the world is changing. China is changing. They're doing things that require skill, doing things that are innovative. So they've moved up the value curve. There are other countries doing the same in Eastern Europe, in Ireland, Penang. Many people catching up and doing what we used to do. The second big change is technology. It's changing almost every job. In the United States especially, it's making it possible for American enterprises to do at home within the United States what they used to usually do abroad in places like Singapore. Producing at home within the United States is now cheaper. Robotics, artificial intelligence, and so on. So those are big changes, but there's also a huge amount of opportunity opening up in front of us. Asian middle class is growing, and it's demanding so many things: education, finance, healthcare, consumer products, which we can help to serve. So there's real opportunity, and we've got to respond to that.
DPM, you brought up a very good point. There are a lot of emerging digital technologies that, in one context, provides a lot of opportunities to augment human capability. In the same breath, this set of technologies could potentially be very disruptive to the future workforce profile. As a country, we probably ought to think, what are the upsides to these emerging digital technologies? What, as a country, we need to mitigate?
It's how we adapt as a society that will determine the future. Will we adapt in a way that allows every job to be enriched by technology and for people to feel comfortable with their jobs working together with technology, be it new software, new equipment, a robot that's working alongside you? That's the real challenge. If we respond well, Singapore can really be the city of the future, where we don't have a big divide between those who are technology-enabled, as they put it, and those who find it a little more difficult in a technology-rich environment. But we can be a city of the future where everyone has that opportunity to have a good job, to keep learning on the job, to feel comfortable with technology in their own ways. Technology isn't going to determine the future. We are.
It's exactly like you said, like in nursing informatics, they've got these things called computer on wheels, where all the medication and reports that are generated are on this workstation. So they go to each workstation, they scan the RFID so you don't give the wrong drugs. Data flows between the cardiologist, the radiologist, and the pathologist. You need all three guys to look at it at the same time so that you get the best care possible. That's an innovation. It's an ecosystem in itself.
From your point of view, how do you think the clinicians can deal with this change?
Clinicians are feeling threatened and challenged as the domains cross boundaries. They have to adapt or they get swept by the change. When the hospital administration sees this value that touches right down to the patient, it's going to happen. It can happen in the largest institutions on the planet. It can happen in our good old Tan Tock Seng NUH and any other hospitals in Singapore. They are starting to acknowledge that. Just like CAD, computer-aided detection, will it ever displace a clinician? No, it will not. They always have a place.
Let's look at the Zalora example. In terms of online business, how do you use technology even more so that you always remain number one in the region?
We try very hard to keep up to date on what is going on in different parts of the world. It's not simply what's happening in Singapore. We look to our global counterparts, towards what offline retailers are doing. The whole idea is that even though we are going to concentrate online, it doesn't mean we don't try to adapt to people's behavior. I think with respect to technology, it changes the way people behave, and there's nothing stopping it. It's very much about adaptation. It's very much about understanding how technology can then build the civil society that we want. For corporations, it's very much about using technology to see how we can further develop capabilities and the path that we need to go global or to simply do better. And I think for Singaporeans, it's about how technology can allow us to be a little bit more empowered.
What about in B2B industries? How would you say innovation and technology has affected applied materials?
The core of our business model is to enable the progression of Moore's law, doubling computing power at a rate of every 18 months to 24 months. And that's one of the reasons you see that your smartphones are smaller, lighter, more affordable. Companies like us will not survive if we can't innovate. And as a company, we are very, very focused on driving processes that keeps us on this innovation treadmill. So in a B2B environment like ours, we have very strong organizational structure to understand exactly what the customer's problems are, develop solutions to intercept and adapt to what the customer would need. I think we've been relatively successful. We've done quite a bit in Singapore in this context too.
It's interesting because what he described sounded so disciplined and regimented, but then you can have creativity as well.
So you blend cultures so that you don't have the fear of failure. You overlay them with a set of processes that ultimately institutionalize this capability. We have to, because every 18 months or 24 months, we have a suite of new technology products that go into all these factories that eventually make all the smartphones. As of today, we are shipping equipment to our customers that will probably make the next generation of your smartphones that will probably hit the market in 2017. And this cycle has been going on for years. So companies like us institutionalize this innovation process. And in my experience, I think Singaporeans are very well adapted to this process, partly because we put in place a structure to innovate.
How does it work for the arts industry?
With technology, we don't have to worry about budget. In the past, filmmakers used film to make movies, which is more expensive. Right now, we can easily use our phones to take videos and upload onto YouTube or Vimeo to reach more audience.
So it sounds like no matter what you do, at the end of the day, think back about the audience that you're serving. But actually what Geck Geck said that was good for her circle is actually terrible for Izzat's circle because you're in media and you're a professional producer. Now you have every Tom, Dick and Geck Geck, going out and making their own films and loading them online and being commercial with it. So for professionals like yourself, how are you surviving?
It's very competitive. You must have product differentiation from other vendors. For example, I used to do national education tours for students, bringing to Kampong Glam, Little India, Chinatown. How do I innovate my business to make sure that my clients will stay with me? We put questions into the iPod, mobile phone, or iPad. The students will make short videos and compile it and upload it to a certain website for the teachers to check. They are much more engaged in learning rather than just listening to the guide.
DPM, enterprises and technologies, are driven by people. What's the strength of the Singapore labour force?
Well, our strength is that we are highly competent, and it's more or less across the board. We have strong teams. Everyone recognizes that. It's a strong education system. We don't have a large gulf. You don't have people shirking off. People tend to work hard and they're competent. But we have to go beyond that. We can't just be competent. We've got to have expertise, we've got to have mastery, and we've got to leave something in the customer's mind that stays long after, whatever we're doing. So if you're running an advanced manufacturing facility, it's about absolute precision, absolute reliability. If you're running a retail business, it's about providing a convenience to the customer that few other people provide, not in the same way. If you're running a learning enterprise, it's about being encouraging. It's having learners really want to be with you. You're producing a film, it's reaching the heart, and it stays in the heart. And medical devices, amazing what they're able to do now, opening up possibilities for patients, for the elderly that just didn't exist before. But we have to provide that extra. And it's about deep skills, it's about being innovative, being original, having a certain flair that others don't have. And it's a feeling that it's not just about an enterprise, not just about an economy. It's actually about us. We each can do something extra in a special way.
DPM, I think you've made a very good summary of what the challenges are from a global context. Singapore is facing a workforce profile that is aging. I think at a certain stage, we also can't grow our workforce indefinitely. And so there's some views among Singaporeans that we can actually take it a bit easy, we can live with a slower economy. So what are your views on a slower growth environment for Singapore?
It's a good question. If we just accept slower manpower growth meaning no growth, things just carry on as normal, there are two things that can happen. First, it's very hard for businesses to invest when there's no growth in the market. Some can because they're just displacing other competitors, they're disruptors. But most businesses need some growth to justify an investment. And investment is critical for innovation because you're investing in new machinery, you're investing in training, you're investing in new ideas. It helps so much to have a market growing because it spurs investment. But the other thing also is about individuals. You've got to have space in the market for people who want to do something differently and better than the others. If it's all about knocking out a competitor in a stagnant market, that's a zero-sum game. Yeah. Right. Someone goes up, someone else moves down or becomes unemployed, right? A growing market allows for new ideas. It provides a space for new ideas in a much more conducive way compared to a stagnant market. We have to grow through productivity. It's about adding value through our own wits and our abilities and that special touch we add rather than by just adding more and more people. It can be done.